Hey, hey, everybody, welcome and thank you, Aundre, for putting this together. For those of you who don't know me, I think everyone probably knows me because I've shared it on my social. But anyway, my name is Terry White, and I'm being interviewed today by the wonderful, amazing protege, Aundre Larrow. And Aundre is he saw that it was my 25th anniversary here at Adobe. Aundre is a former creative resident, and he wanted to just have an opportunity to just chat. We have some other folks that'll be popping in and popping out. And it's being, for those of you who can't stay or can't stick around for the whole thing, every platform that's being streamed on will also you'll be able to watch the replay. Aundre, how you doing, man?
Hey, Terry. Before I admonish you with, actually, I'm going to do it the whole time. For everyone that is watching, especially folks that are fans of Terry's, I want to say, first and foremost, the quote of the definition of a true legacy is not what someone has done, but it's how someone has made you feel. And for so many of you, you've never had a chance to sit next to Terry like I have, or talk to him, or have him show you how his Tesla drives itself, which was maybe one of the scariest things that ever happened to me. But the true talent that is Terry is the idea that although you've never met him, some of you have followed me later or commented, "Oh, I saw your work on Terry's thing," and let me know how he's always made you feel like the things you want to create were attainable through not only Adobe tools, but just like a kind of curiosity and desire for the world. And so yesterday, Terry was kind enough to share with me a Spark link that kind of detailed his 25 years at Adobe. And after reading it, I just thought, like, this is beautiful, but a true kind of ode to Terry would be one that brings him back to the people that love his work and lets them learn more about him. Not necessarily always Terry the maker, but really about Terry the thinker. So in the next hour or so, or less if Terry has his way, we will just take some time to honor him. If you're watching this, please, in the comments on any platform, please write, maybe your first way or how you interacted with Terry, and all these kind of cool, interesting, talented people are going to come in and talk about their experience with Terry. But I just wanted to start with kind of one simple question. Mr. White, 25 years, no, forget that. 40 years ago, could you imagine yourself here where you are now?
Absolutely not.
Not even a little bit?
No. No. Because and not because of anything that I didn't feel I was capable of. It was just more, you didn't get to go work for a big tech company living in Detroit. Like, you had to be on the West Coast. You had to be in California. You had to be in Silicon Valley. So 40 years ago, working remote for a big company never crossed my brain. Like, I didn't even think that was possible.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, we talk a lot about the decay of the Midwest. We talk a lot about the decay of the middle class, the Black middle class. And you're right. I never thought about the idea of growing up. In Detroit, I'm sure, as when you spent a lot of time there, it was much more automobile focused. So the idea that
exactly. That you went to school, you graduated, you went or you didn't go to school and you went to work in a factory, or you graduated and you went to work for the same factory, but maybe in management or something else. But you basically were destined to work for some either automobile company or supplier of an automobile company. And you never thought of working somewhere else unless you're willing to move. If you're willing to move, then you can go work somewhere wherever you want it.
But I mean, the thing that's interesting, and this is the last question I have before I bring other folks in, or we bring other folks in, is you went to college and you had two main inflection points that I took away from this Spark piece. And if folks have not seen it, Terry, I would love if you could share it.
I did. Yeah.
Across. Okay, great. So folks could read it. But very early in this, Terry talks about choosing to drop out of college and then choosing to leave his job, both of which had to take some level of courage. Did you not fear what would happen next, or were you that excited about what you thought the world had for you?
They weren't really simultaneous. It was the leaving college was actually because I had a job at the time, and being young and not very smart about college. I will say it that way, or just the impact of leaving college. I was just caught up in working all this overtime and making all this money. So I was just like, I had a job where I could work unlimited overtime. It was a startup company, and
Wow.
you could work 24 hours a day. If you could stay awake, you could work. And it was just like, for someone who had just basically had, 9 to 5 part-time jobs or 9 to 5 regular jobs making minimum wage or a little bit more than that. I was just like, oh my God, you're going to let me work as much as I want. And I get to make as much money. I would get to work at 5 a.m. and leave at 9 p.m. And I would get to work and fall asleep at the keyboard because I was just exhausted from the night before of staying up all night working. So it was just work. And I got caught up in that and said, what do I need college for? I'm already working, making good money. And
what were you working? What were you making then when you were falling asleep at the keyboard?
I was actually doing data entry. So it was just basically a startup company. They were taking applications for distributors for their new product. And it was basically enter the applications. So I knew how to type. I wasn't, unfamiliar with a computer terminal. And it was just enter these applications 24/7. They had that many to where that just basically as many as you want to input, as much time as you had, you could go and do it. So it was that led to leaving college. And then, as some startups do, that startup money dried up and the company started to go under and blah, blah, blah. And I left and went and worked for a different company doing the same kind of computer job, not so much data entry, but more computer operations. And from there is when I got the idea to start my own business. So it was like, quit my job and go out on my own with really no real savings to speak of, no college degree to speak of, nothing like that. But I was excited. So I did it.
And none of your other peers or most of your peers were working in a single industry. So did you have an opportunity to even have a mentor, or were you just jumping on pure faith?
Pure faith. Just like you couldn't tell me that desktop publishing wasn't going to be the next big thing. So I took out a loan, I bought computers, I bought a laser printer, and I basically picked up as much graphic design knowledge as I could, just looking at things. And like I would look at it, I wasn't really design focused, but I could look at something and recreate it. So a lot of it was just, I could see something, recreate it, and give it to the customer, and they were happy, and that was it. So I was doing that.
So jump from that into your time at Adobe, and instead of letting you narrate that, I think we have some lovely guests that are sitting that I think can speak to their experience with you and this whole 25 years of Terry.
So let's start with, I'm going to bring up first and foremost, my manager, Rufus Dershler. Hey, Rufus.
Manager. I mean, everybody knows Terry can't be managed, but yeah. Terry, what can I say? 25 years at Adobe. And, when you started at Adobe, I still had my graphic design company. And I was actually watching, your videos and learning from your videos. And then, approached Adobe, got interested in InDesign, and then watched more videos from Terry. And now that I work for Adobe, I still watch Terry's videos. So
that's awesome. All right.
Yeah,
and before I let Rufus continue, I'm going to bring on 2 more people, and then we'll all just chat. So in my early part of my career at Adobe, I was actually promoted. You can read all this in the Spark, but I was promoted to be a manager, and therefore I got to hire new people, hire solutions engineers. So one of my first hires is Sheeta Hunter. There she is.
Thank you.
And Sheeta we'll give everyone the floor in just a minute. Let me bring on one more person. And this person did not work for Adobe, but I can't imagine my photography life being the same without him. And his name is Shawn Lee. Shawn Lee is in Detroit. And he was just an inspiration from a photography standpoint. And he always talks about how much he learned from me, but I actually learned a lot from Shawn as well. So let's bring Shawn on as well. Shawn Lee.
Rock that.
You might hear "Rock That" once or twice throughout this day.
Oh, that's all right. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I want to speak because
Go for it.
all right. I worked for Terry for 2 years as a application specialist for Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, Acrobat. I think I had about 5 to 7 flagship programs that I was basically interacting around the world with. And Terry is amazing. He's an amazing person because throughout our entire time together, what I noticed is that he wanted you to shine. He wanted to help build you up and do whatever he could to make sure that you did a great job. And he did. He was just an amazing person to work for. He's a great friend. I want to say that I've known Terry for over 30 years. So I knew him before we started working at Adobe. So it just blossomed as we worked together. And
yes, we met in kindergarten. She was 5 and I was 7 at the time, and that's it.
I was 4, Terry.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. But I really enjoyed it. It was just the best time.
Wait, you were a 7-year-old kindergartner?
No, just kidding.
I was like,
I don't lie well. So there we go. There we go. I screwed that up. Yeah.
What's going on in Detroit?
I got held back.
Oh no, don't blame that on Detroit now.
No.
No. It's no shit on Detroit. No shit on Detroit. I just was like, what are these public? What's going on here?
Extended program.
Rock that. Well, I don't know how this goes, but can I speak? Can I say something? Is that all right?
Already speaking.
Listen, so here's the story with Terry, and I don't know how much time you got. Like out of this hour, money, I can bleed ears. So I'm do it. Yeah, no. So I'm gonna try and keep this short. But I absolutely love Terry White. We honor Terry White, and so I run an organization called the Multicultural Association of Professional Photographers. And we run a conference called the Rock That Conference. Why? Because I say rock that all the time. And Terry has been a mentor to us and this conference and our mission of giving back since its inception and since the beginning. And for that, I really, really appreciate and honor him. Let me tell you the way I met Terry, right? And I don't know, I'm a professional photographer. I've been so for a few years now. But, you know, you get to that point in life where you decide that I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to be doing for the rest of my life or whether I need to go get a 9-to-5, job type of thing. And so I got really serious about photography. And so had an opportunity to travel to Florida to Photoshop World, I think back at its inception. So this might have been, I don't know, 05, 06, somewhere around there. And so barely had money to go. Matter of fact, I remember making a decision, and my family and we made a decision to use our mortgage money for me to go to Photoshop World. That's how serious this was, right? And so you go to Photoshop World, and I think I might have flew in cargo because I didn't have enough money for a seat. And I might have stayed in an hotel because I don't think we could afford the H or the M. So it might have been an hotel, right? It was one of those things. And so you go to Photoshop World, barely got enough money to get in and get the ticket, right? Barely have enough money to eat. But I was serious about this photography thing and whether I was going to do it. And so you walk around these things, there's thousands of people, right? There's thousands of people. It costs $700 to get in. And I see white folk everywhere. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I love white folk. How you doing, Rufus? Right? And you don't see many people.
He's talking about the American whites, not Rufus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, rock that. And you don't see many people who look like you. And so I see this sign. I'm looking through the schedule, and it says Terry White, and I'm like, yep, this dude has to be white, right? But he was teaching on, it might have been InDesign or something at the time. And so I walk in this room, and who do I see? But this dude, Terry White, sitting on the stage. The room was packed. It was standing room only. It had to be 800 people in this room, and my heart welled, right? I don't think you understand what it meant for a black dude trying to break into photography, knows absolutely nothing, has absolutely no money, and then to see a guy on a platform with a standing room only room, my heart welled, and I got in. So I'm from Detroit, Terry, and when I found out he was from Detroit, I didn't know this dude. I was like, oh my God, this dude is from Detroit, right? And I stood in the back of the room, right? In the back of the room, and Terry's getting ready to do his presentation. And you know, Terry cool about everything. Hey guys, we're getting ready to go into, we're going to go into, and then we're going to bring down, we're going to page 2, page 3, we're going to lay out. And I yelled out to the top of my lungs, Detroit! I kept yelling it because I was so excited. And like a true professional, Terry kept going. But I'm sure he was hitting the button up under the table to call security, right? But it was that moment, that the part of that inspiration of why I'm still here today, right? Those moments where you decide, you know what, I'm gonna keep going, because you see somebody who looks like you. And then now years later, we have this conference, and I called Terry, and Terry came on his own dime, flew on his own, put himself up in a hotel, and gave his talents to our very first conference that was meant to invest in photographers that don't typically invest in themselves, right? And has done so every single year, right? Since we've started the conference in 2016. I had the honor, and I'm getting emotional, I'm sorry. We honored Terry in 2017 with a Legends Award, because I believe in giving people their flowers while still living. And people like him who have paved the way just by doing what he does and being consistent time after time after time. It is the Terry Whites, right? It's those people like the Matthew Jordan Smiths, the Terrell Lloyds, the Audrey Willards, the Terry Whites of the world, who have existed in a space that you don't normally see people who look like me in, who've done what they have done and have opened the door for so many. And I'm here because of a Terry White, right? And so he is our Rock That Map legend, our mentor, and I love this dude, like to the bottom of my soul.
Absolutely.
Rock that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well said.
I'm gonna tell it everywhere I go, man. I don't care what you say, bro. If we in a restaurant, I'm going to embarrass you. That's it.
And Shawn, I don't think I ever told you this. Like, I've heard Shawn tell this story before, but it was what inspired me the most from the story had nothing to do with me. What inspired me the most about the story is that it reminded me of when I quit a job to go start a company and had really no experience. Shawn took mortgage money to take a chance on educating himself at Photoshop World, and might come back to not being able to be at home. So that inspired me. And I will always remember that part of the story as you have to invest in yourself. And sometimes you do have to take a risk if you think it's going to be worth the payoff.
Right.
Rock that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to.
All right. So Aundre, we've completely taken over your show. What's next?
Yeah.
I think Terry, I think you're misunderstanding how this is going to go. My goal is for everyone watching and present to be sobbing in the next 15 minutes. Rufus, I think folks see Terry public facing all the time. They see 1 hour, 2 hours of Terry a week, 3 hours of Terry a week. I don't know how many times Terry streams. I can only watch so many of them.
Many.
But I would really love for you to speak as someone who understands what it takes to not only prepare, but to consistently deliver this amount of education at this high of a level for this long. What have you seen from Terry that we can learn from, or just positive things that you want to share?
Oh, absolutely. We were part of a group of traveling salesmen or traveling presenters all around the world. And we had crowds that ranged from 50 people to 3,000 people. And, this is how we were teaching, including Terry, Jason, and the whole gang. And I think, what impressed me most is how the team, especially Terry, switched when, with the pandemic, in recent years when we moved evangelism from like traveling to online presentations. Terry was super fast at understanding the new technology, understanding how to communicate with people, how to continue the teaching, even though we weren't in front of people anymore, and that was very impressive. And what Terry does is he has always this very calm posture, and he makes everything so easy to understand. And and this is probably one of the things also that I've learned from Terry in my presentations, is to take it slow and show the good stuff.
I'd like to jump in there with something.
Yes,
because thank you. Knowing Terry for as long as I have, when I first met Terry had this saying that he would put on the bottom of everything. And the saying was, if you don't have the time to do it right, when do you have the time to do it over? And that was just such an instillment of be excellent. Be excellent first. Put that step out first. Don't wait and, shuffle around. Get that excellence out there. And it resonated in me, and I still remember it. And every once in a while, I'll tell Terry, I remember this saying. But that was the first saying that I remember from Terry that just really stuck with me forever.
I do remember that signature. I got to get back to using that again because it's still very relevant.
Very, very, very relevant.
All right, so we got a bunch of people in the audience on different platforms, and we want to, or at least I want to make this as interactive as possible, not just you guys listening to stories, but if you have a question, I know there's one person that said, I'm going to ask you this question. I haven't seen them yet. But if you have a question, feel free to ask it, and hopefully I'll see it in the chat. And there he is. So the person I just said that about just popped in.
So Terry, before we ask that question, I would love because so far Shawn and Rufus had their times to give you some flowers, and I would love to give Cheeto just a little bit longer. If there's are there any moments in your relationship with Terry that stand out to you?
Absolutely.
Stand out is a lazy word, but I don't want to editorialize your experience.
Absolutely. And just like Shawn, you get emotional when you think about it. So hopefully I won't start to cry when I think about this. So this was shortly before my mother died. I kept getting these postcards in the mail, and it was come and join Mac training, Mac Proof, Mac training and design. And so I'd read it, toss it away. And then a few months later, I'd get the postcard again. I'd read it, toss it away. And then the third time, and by this time, my mom had passed away, and I was sort of lost. And I have a good family. My dad said, I know you're feeling a little lost here. Whatever you want to do, just go find it and I'll pay for it. And my history is architecture, had a job in architecture. My life was architecture. I didn't know if I wanted to continue in it. So I took this postcard and I finally read it. I didn't throw it away, the third one. And I read it and I said, okay, well, let me call this office. And so I ended up taking like 7 or 8 classes from Terry, thanks to my dad who just passed away 2 years ago. And that was the beginning of my 30+ year relationship with Terry. And he just sort of pulled me in. He helped me out. He helped me learn. I ended up teaching at that facility for Terry, and it just helped me grow. And I want to say this, at an Adobe sales meeting, and I don't remember if we were in San Jose at the time or not, but I was sitting next to Terry, and I leaned over to Terry while someone else was doing the keynote address. And I said, Terry, you're going to be doing that one day. And the rest is history.
I still think about this to that day that she called it out. Like, I'm looking up there like, yeah, right. I'm the sales guy in Michigan, like technical sales guy in Michigan. Like, they're going to bring me up to do a keynote. Sure, they are. And she was right. I'm doing keynotes now. So, do you have any lottery numbers you want to?
I'll hold on. I don't mind sharing. As soon as I find mine, I will share some with you. But Terry, what's mine is yours. I love to share, and best friends forever. I love you.
All right, love you too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Terry, I think there's a lot of people in the chat as well that mentioned the Mac user group.
Yep.
That come from from that part, like before Adobe.
That was 10 years before Adobe. I started that in '86, so that was long before Adobe. That that was after I'd left to start my own business. So I'm downtown Detroit, renting an office, doing graphic design for a print shop, and I was working on a client's job, and he was sitting there next to my desk, and he said, "You should start a users group." I'm like, "What's a users group?" And he said, I read about this one for whatever computer platform it was, Commodore, Atari, whatever it was back then. So I read about this one, and basically they get together, they meet, they do, blah, blah, blah topics on whatever. And I was like, yeah, sounds interesting. And I put an ad in a paper for those young people out there. We used to have these things called newspapers, and you would call on a phone and call and put an advertisement in. And
when she said she called, I was like, she did what?
Right.
You did what? You
right.
called somebody on the phone?
Put an advertisement in. Anyway, people would read the ad and then respond. So anyway, so I held the first meeting and did it for, 25 years, 30 years after. So just long president and founder of this users group until I moved. I basically couldn't take Michigan weather anymore. I moved and handed the rings over to Sheeta and other people in the group to take over the group. But yeah, that was how Mac Group Detroit got started. It was someone else's suggestion to me, and that's what. And back then, by the way, a meeting meant people coming together and just talking, because there was no projectors for your computer back then. There was no way to hook up to a big screen. There were no big screens. There was nothing to do, no way to do it other than just everyone crowd around someone's 13-inch or 9-inch screen and look at what they're doing. And that was it. And we had, anyway, I'm not going to get into all the little gory details, but it was just, that was the time in 1986. The Mac had just come out 2 years before. And it was back then, your choice was either a Mac or not even Windows, an IBM PC, and that was it.
Wow. Aundre don't know nothing about that.
This is before he was born.
Right.
Or he was a baby at the time.
And that group met together for 33 years.
30 years.
It's been 33
4 or 5
years
after I was gone. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'm turning 30 in a month, so no.
Yeah. All right, let me pop this question up, because the reason I'm dying to get to this question is it's the one question no one's ever asked me. That's what makes it interesting. All right, here we go. Jerome Silverman, who also used to work for Adobe, not for me, but he used to work for Adobe. Here's the question. What's the closest I ever came to leaving Adobe in 25 years? And no one's ever asked me that. Like, ever in 25 years, no one said, "Hey, did you ever think about going to work somewhere else?" And so when he texted me this question today, I was like, well, I won't answer it with you now. If you join the live stream and ask it, I'll answer it then. And he showed up. So I have no choice now.
Let me quick remind you, Terry, this is still a please don't get fired. Rufus is right there.
Well, first and foremost, it was before Rufus. It was a long time ago. It was before I was an evangelist. So it was back when I was on the sales side. And it was back at a time, and I wrote about this in the Spark. I just didn't mention this part. It was back at a time when Adobe was shifting from creative temporarily, because we shifted back, but shifting from creative to all the enterprise products, the live cycle, the Acrobat stuff in the world. so forth and so on. So I was a little frustrated because the company's moving away from what I like towards this other stuff that I could care less about. And I wasn't looking for a job, but I got an offer to come interview with a startup company that was based in Ottawa, Canada. And I'm not going to mention the company. I'm not going to mention the people because I'll tell you why in a minute. And so I went up for an interview. They wanted me to be their sales director. It was I will tell you, it was a video company. So it was a company they were making plugins for After Effects. And I went up, did a couple interviews, and I was ready to sign. Like I was ready to take another chance and go work for this startup and do something different. And what stopped me was they were like, we're ready to offer you a job, but we want you to come up one more time in person and we'll offer it to you then. And something in my brain snapped because it was winter time and it was Ottawa, Canada, and I wasn't going to go up to Ottawa, Canada in winter one more time. And I just said, I don't even think I responded. I just like completely shut down and just, no. If you want to offer me a job, you've met me, we've interviewed, give me the offer. Like, why do I have to come up? Because usually when someone wants to see you face to face, they want to offer you less than what you originally said. Because why would you need me to be there if you don't want to talk me down from whatever it was? And I just got a vibe and I just said, nope. Now, how did that work out? That company's no longer here. And the principal of that company works for Adobe now. So we'll just leave it at that. So good save on my instincts part to not take that offer. And that was that. So Jerome Silverman, Jerry, that was the only time that I was tempted to leave Adobe.
Wow.
That was it.
Wow. Wow. Terry, just for the folks that don't know, like myself, what's HyperCard? What are some of these other little products? Can we touch on some things that that maybe Adobe had that you were like, that don't exist anymore, just like little time capsule.
Well, there are lots of little things that don't exist anymore. Flash, that was a big thing that doesn't exist anymore. Flash was never really my product. That was kind of, we acquired Macromedia, and Flash came along for the ride. Big thing that doesn't exist anymore. And with that said, we basically, like, Flash became not needed anymore. I'll just put it that way. So that went away. There's lots of little things. We had I can't even remember the name, but we actually had a product called Dimensions with an S. That was a 3D tool for Illustrator. That went away. Lots of little things came and went. We had multiple web offerings that went away. We had Go Live. That was one of my favorite products. That was Lynn Grillo's in the audience. That was her baby. And Go Live I love Go Live. I used that product for years after we killed it because it was just so easy. Yep. All right. I would be remiss if I didn't bring on a couple people that just popped in. So let's go ahead and add a couple of my buddies here. There's Scott Kelby, and there's Jason Levine walked away from his desk, so we'll bring his desk up anyway.
Hey, Terry, what do I always say when you say Scott Kelby?
Who's that?
I asked.
That's mean.
No,
it's not mean.
He didn't. He's so young. He didn't know you at first, and I had to explain to him who you were.
I was
not
in
because
Terry's
you're not
home.
popular. He's just out of the loop. He didn't know.
He had a book that was like written by Terry and Scott Kelby. I was like, "Oh, who's Scott Kelby?" And Terry was like, "How dare you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't know. I don't know who that is." So I say all that now to say, welcome to the Terry Flower celebration, Scott. Please pepper us with your Terry stories.
And by the way, just to preface, Scott is doing this not only out of the kindness of his own heart, which he has a big, kind heart. He's on vacation right now. So we are super happy to have Scott pop in from his family on vacation to say whatever he's going to say right now. So thank you, Scott, for being here.
We're in a cabin in Maine. So this is the cabin that we're in here up in Maine. We tried to find a place that was nice and cool while it's baking like a potato in Florida. My wife was like, "Where's it cool right now?" It's in Maine. And she said, "Can we get back to that Aundre thing where he didn't know who you were?" That was the next thing. So let's bring that back around because I'm quite concerned.
Before Scott goes, Shawn, would you do the honor of introducing Scott to the folks that are watching that may not know who he is?
What if Shawn doesn't know who I am?
Shawn's been in the Photoshop world.
Yeah.
Shawn spent his mortgage money to come listen to you talk.
Yeah, I spent my last money to come hear you all.
So I may not know who you are, but that's legacy right there, Scott. That man spent his last dollar to come, and you blessed him. So that's jokes aside.
But
Shawn, would you intro him? Yeah.
You really want me to intro Scott Kelby? Man,
Yes.
This is an honor, dude. I don't know what you're doing, but thank you. Rock that. This is an honor, man. I've been following these guys for years, man. And Scott Kelby comes to Detroit, comes to Livonia every year, and does his thing in Livonia. So I've been there the last couple of years, and actually, I think as a gift of Terry, Scott kind of announced our conference as well. And I think I might have done the same thing, Terry. I think I might have stayed in the back of the room and yelled out, "Detroit!" Scott was like, "Security," you know what I mean? No, but it was cool. I listen. This guy is everywhere. The reason that I know Photoshop is because of these two guys. They have taught the world what Photoshop is, what Adobe products are, and in my opinion, and I don't know if this is right or if I'm going to get in trouble with Adobe. I think that the reason that Adobe is known is because of a Scott Kelby, right? A Terry White, a Scott Kelby. And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here to honor the 25 years of Terry White, ladies and gentlemen, Scott Kelby.
Well, there's no way I can live up to that, Shawn. Thank you. That was I need a recording of that I use as my ringtone.
Yeah, okay.
The new grid intro.
Yeah, right. Very that's my new grid intro. That's it.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So Terry, I have a couple of questions for you. Rather than sharing stories of Terry. No, they're easy. They're very easy questions. These will be
Okay.
but these will be kind of insightful. So Terry, you have demoed so many products over 25 years. There have been so many. Outside of Photoshop, we're going to take Photoshop off the table because Photoshop is the king. What was your favorite product to demo?
Hands down, that's an easy one.
Yeah,
That's an easy one. That's like a no-brainer because when you have something that is so much better than your competition, and your competition before this product was kicking your butt, it's fun to demo that product. And that product was Adobe InDesign. So Adobe InDesign against Quark Express was a joy to demo because I used to point out all the things that Quark couldn't do that InDesign could. And it just brought joy to my heart. That's all. It wasn't personal. It was a blast seeing people's jaw drops and tears would literally come to their eyes over the stuff that I would show them that it could do that the product they were using every day couldn't. So hands down, InDesign.
Well, you also have a way of showing things like that when you know you've got the upper hand. That is so funny. It's so matter. You do it in such a matter-of-fact way that it's just. I've been in the audience for some of those presentations, and man, they bring the house down. All right, so Terry, back in the Quark Express days. What is now Photoshop User Magazine was originally another magazine called Mac Today. And at my local users group, Quark came and did a presentation. Now, this was before InDesign kicked its butt. And I went up to the Quark guy and said, "Hey, we have this magazine here. It's just for Florida and stuff. But would you guys ever consider taking an ad in the magazine?" And he looks at me just straight faced and says, "We don't need to advertise."
Yep, that's why it was fun.
You will.
That's what made it fun because they had arrogance. Yeah,
they were so arrogant. They were really bad.
They were.
Yep.
They were the worst. All right, so I have another question. I have another follow-up.
Sure.
All right, so you've been all over the world. You've done so many tours. I know, like you and Jason have been everywhere, and I got to see you in Denmark
Denmark,
on stage.
Copenhagen.
Yeah, in Copenhagen. That was great. I got to, because Terry was going to have a few extra days like layover there. So I flew over. I always wanted to go to Copenhagen. I flew over and hung out with Terry. We went shooting and went to amusement parks and went to Sweden. It was awesome. But
we got
of all
lost
the places,
in a car. We're in a car. It was great.
Yeah, that was before we knew to say no ferries. Like,
Right,
you know how
right,
you can say no tolls and no ferries?
Yeah. It took us way
drove
out of the way
1,000,000
to take us to a ferry that would take us over the water. And it was like, we got there, it was empty, desolate. No one was there.
Ferry's gone.
The ferry's gone for the day. It was just.
We had to drive
And we're
all
looking
the
at
way
each other
from
like,
the whole
GPS, no ferries. It took us the direct way.
That was also the most expensive toll I've ever paid. It was like we had to go one way across a bridge from to Malmo, Sweden, and it was like $65 for the toll. I kept asking the guy, "Is 65 euros?" He said, "Yes." It's like 6 a number 6 and a number 5. It was like $65 is a lot for a toll. It was like I was making like $4 or €4. Yeah. It was like 65. You only pay one way, but that was enough. All right. Yep. So you've been all over the world. You've taught everywhere. I mean, you've literally taught everywhere. Where was the most fun place that you remember teaching? Now, that could be from the crowd was so great or the place was so great or whatever. But if you think, man, I'd love to go back there and teach, where would that be?
I think I know at least one of those.
Ohio.
Jason's probably got a better memory for that than I do. But let me think. Where was the most fun? Well, Jason and I, I'll go back to Singapore any day. So Singapore is just awesome in general. But fun?
I mean, you guys went
so
to
many.
Brazil.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There were so many. So Hong Kong was great. Yeah, but it's hard to pick one. Hong Kong.
I was going to say Singapore #1 for you.
Singapore #1, absolutely.
And Bangalore.
Yes.
Bangalore.
Yes. Yeah. No, Egypt.
And yes, and
remember the crowd in Egypt, like
in Cairo.
All jokes aside, it was Jason, myself, Greg Ruiz, and I can't remember if Paul was there or not. I think it was just the three of us. After the presentation, people usually come up and ask questions and want stuff signed and stuff. What we want, giveaways and stuff like that. But this was the first audience I'd ever seen that literally made us feel like a rock star because they rushed the stage like there was money on the stage. Like they rushed the stage and their security's having to hold them back from us. And I have a picture in the Slack. They're all raising their hands and wanting to take pictures with them. And I was like scared and fascinated at the same time because it was like, why are all these people running to us at once? And I was terrified, but like, this is cool. Like this is pretty awesome. That was probably the most fun that I can remember for that reason, because it was just like I'd never seen anything like that before.
Hey Terry,
you guys everywhere you went though, they treated you like rock stars. They always did.
That's what I said. It was hard. Like there was no. I don't ever remember. Jason, you remember a bad place, like a place we hated? No,
not really. Yeah. Not really. It was always, maybe we didn't necessarily feel as good as we did at the beginning of the tour towards the end, but they were there. Everyone was always receptive. And actually, to Scott's point, it's not like, I think, we'd never seen anything like that, and they'd never seen anything like the way you, me, and Roof and everybody used to do those presentations for the amount of time we used to do them. I mean, you just brought this up on our team call, and Scott knows this, the fact that we used to actually talk to people in a venue, sometimes paid, sometimes free, for 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, we joke now that you got like 8 minutes to get someone watching a YouTube video. We used to keep people in a room with maybe 10% drop off.
And it was free for them to come, but it was very little drop off at the end of the day. Right. And it was like, they're just staying for the prizes. Well, 5,000 people are going to win the prize. Like everyone's not staying there for the prize. Yeah. But we
didn't give away there was no creative cloud, man. It was like swag, like T-shirts or a pen.
Right. So just like to see that many people stay all day to basically be presented to and sold to, even though we were teaching them tips and tricks too, but that was amazing.
Yeah. So that was something else.
Yep.
Terry, I know that Scott is probably going to have to drop off soon, so I just wanted to give you a moment, since you kind of have the full roster of folks that were going to come and celebrate you today, if there's anything that you wanted to address to the group or individual folks that I know that you said for Shawn and for Cheetah, they both had these moments that really helped strengthen you in your resolve. Is there anything that you want to share with Jason or Scott or Rufus that maybe was similar?
Well, Scott's always been an inspiration because I remember in my early days of looking at like how I was doing training, and then I met Scott and then saw how his company was doing training. And then I said, I'm doing it the dumb way and I should be doing it like Scott. I learned I've learned more things from Scott than I can probably ever recant or say. Like, it's just been a tremendous 20 some odd year, not only friendship, but just mentorship. Like, so just like people say I mentor them, Scott's mentored me over the years, whether he realizes it or not, that he's talked me down off ledges that I was going to jump off of. He's like helped me in business. He's helped me in just like learning and presenting things the right way. And like, I always learn something from Scott, even if it's not how to use the software, it's the way he does it. And so that is invaluable. I will never be able to repay that back to him, but I have to pay it back to other people. Pay it forward, as we like to say. For Jason, it's a similar thing. Like, Jason presents in a very, very cinematic way, and just watching Jason present and honing, my own skills to kind of like just adapt to not only what I was already doing, but just learning from just watching Jason and the way he would talk to an audience and his pauses and the way he does things to get the audience to respond. Like, I learned a lot from Jason over the years as well. So just watching these two masters at work has just been totally inspirational. Basically, I've gotten something from everyone here. That's why you're here, by the way. Like, you're not just here to hang out because I know you. I'm also thanking you because like this 25 years probably wouldn't have happened the way it happened without you.
Wow. Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Right back at you for sure.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Aundre, something that I don't know that I've ever really said. So when the DSLR boom was happening in like 2010, so when that was DSLR, which just got huge, all of a sudden it was taking over in television and everywhere, and in photography as well. And I was not yet a Nikon shooter; I was still Canon at that point. And I remember, and Terry may remember this. So this was again DSLR video was massive, and I was a photographer years ago, but hadn't done it in a decade. And I was so intimidated really to shoot anything because I thought, well, I've got Terry here. I don't need to shoot anything. And Terry, you were the one who was like, no, dude, you like that. And that was when Nikon video wasn't good. You're like, dude, you've got everything in the palm of your hand. Like you should be so excited by this. And you inspired me to like lose the fear and get back into it. I already had the geeky, nerdy side of it, but I didn't know how to do it aesthetically and how to make it like cool and new. And you lifted all those barriers. And I'll never forget one of the first things you ever said to me, because that was, again, shooting 450 frames of, one subject for 10 minutes and then trying to go through everything. And I was like, oh God, so much of it is bad. And I'm just so out of practice. And you're like, hey, as long as you get one,
that's right.
That's all you need.
Yeah,
and I've since embraced that, forever.
If we go out and we get one magical shot, it was worth whatever it is we were out there for. Yeah. Like,
just one.
Getting more than one is amazing, but just the one great shot, it was worth the trip.
And that's applied to even personal photography. I don't take as much, but I just want one. I don't. Oh, and you'd always say, slightly blurry, dump it.
Yeah.
Don't even think about it. Dump it. No. You're taking 100.
You're not going to use it. Yep.
Dump it. Don't
You're not going to use it. Why keep it? Right.
Yeah.
All right, Mike South, I'll answer this question. What's the most futuristic tool I've seen developed? I'm going to assume you mean at Adobe. Futuristic.
I heard you say dimensions. That was futuristic 15 years ago.
That was futuristic back then, right?
What was that, Jason?
Yeah.
It was like a virtual world creator.
It was 3D.
No, that's atmosphere.
It was 3D.
Atmosphere, right.
That's right.
3D for Illustrator. Basically, Dimension, which is the product we have out now, which just became Stager, is 3D. And I would probably say, because Futurix is hard because that means that it was something that I just didn't expect, and it's just like it's something future. I don't have a really good answer for futuristic, but I would say some of the products that were the most awe-inspiring, like I think maybe even a little ahead of their time. And Jason brought up Dimensions, which we now have Dimension without the S. That product, I just did a intern class on that yesterday for our Adobe interns. And that product, or not yesterday, Friday, that blew me away because that lets you take a 2D photo, which all photos are 2D. That lets you take a 2D photo and incorporate 3D elements into it, but not have to be a 3D master. Like it was a product built for mere mortals. And when I see what blows my mind is when I see, let me back up a little bit. One of the hardest things to do with compositing is to make it look real, because you have two things that were shot in two different environments and the lighting is going to be different. And to make it look like it was always there is always the challenge. What Dimension does when you bring in a photo and then you put it, let's say you bring in a table and that you photographed, and you bring in a 3D backpack and you sit it on the table. Well, the backpack is 3D, so you can put lights and things around it and so forth and so on. But there's a button. There's literally a one button that should be called "Make It Better" or "Make It Look Good" button, because that's exactly what it does. You click this button and it looks at the photo, it analyzes the lighting, it analyzes the ground plane and everything in the photo and applies that to your 3D object. So your 3D object, just with one click, looks like it was always there.
Wow.
That to me is futuristic. That blew me away when I first saw it. And now, just like I said, I got reintroduced to it Friday. I was like, oh, this is some cool tech. Like just the ability to make that one click and have that happen. Premiere and After Effects have amazing futuristic technologies, like the new speech to text in Premiere Pro, which is now available for everyone, right, Jason?
Yep.
When I first tried it, like I took one of my tutorial videos and threw it in Premiere and clicked the speech to text button, which basically transcribes it based on what you said in the video and gives you the text. It got everything word for word, no mistakes. And I just sat back in my chair saying, this wasn't a demo file that always works. This was just me picking a random video and throwing it in there and trying it. And it worked perfectly. And that blew me away. So there have been some moments.
Ooh.
Oh. Whoa. Sorry. That just threw me, Cosmo.
It was too good, Aundre. He's like, I can't take any more.
Technology king.
That actually scared me. Hey, Scott, just to be clear, the joke of it is that I didn't know who you were for a second, but now obviously all of the impact you've had on Terry has then impacted me through that like kind of hockey assist. So I meant no disrespect. It was just like a moment I thought you'd think was funny because I'm in his house, and if you've been at Terry's house, I'm like, what is this book? Like, what is this? You wrote a book? And he was like, yeah, you read it? And I was like, no, man.
Okay, Aundre. Yeah. Look, I'm in a 350 square foot cabin in Maine. Here you got perfect lighting. You got perfect skin tone. You got directional lighting. You're like studios like happening, and I'm like on a laptop in Maine. It's okay.
No,
it's not my right.
I know he had to go, but this is kind of a good moment to say to all of you, like, it's no small thing that all of you found each other through Terry. Like, Jason, we only really had like one real interaction, and that was when I became a resident.
Right.
You took out a bunch of your time and you taught me how to use Premiere. Like for no reason. You had no reason to do it. You don't know me. You have a bunch of stuff to do. And you weren't like, here's some videos. You're like, all right, cool. I'll meet with you twice. We went over audition and premiere, and I worked through that for that thing. And if you look now, there's stuff I'm directing that are based in, remember what we talked about. You told me, man. You edit as you direct. So that's a big part of that.
Yeah.
Scott, some of the folks, Brad, some other people that you've worked with have reached out. Wait, is Terry populating these comments? Terry, come back in.
Yeah, what happened?
Okay.
There he is.
He was just messing with us.
Back, Terry.
There he is.
So you guys didn't hear any of that because I realized when I came back, I hadn't put myself back in yet. And I was just like, I was gone for like literally a split second because I hit the back button on my mouse by mistake. And then I came right back in. I'm like, okay, they're talking, whatever. I hadn't realized I hadn't come all the way back in until just now. So sorry about that.
Welcome back.
That was me.
Welcome back.
Yeah. So anyway, I heard everything you were saying. So thanks for not talking about me while I was gone too much.
I did a little bit.
Keeping the live stream classy. Aundre.
Keeping it classy. Great. So we're coming up on the top of the hour, which I promised everyone we would hard stop at the top of the hour. So last 4 minutes, anyone have anything they want to add? Any question I didn't see? Anything that I may have missed? Anybody? Open floor, 4 minutes.
I got a thing.
Shawn, Cheetah. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Go ahead, Scott.
I have a thing about Terry, because I think one of the things that it happens behind the scenes. It's not something you see it in his presentation, but you don't see it. But it's Terry's dedication to education and how hard he works to find. I got to find just the right image, just the right example, because he wants the person to connect with it. He wants to see that light bulb come on where they go, oh, okay, now I get it. And I've seen how hard he works to get to that thing. And
but I got that from you.
Terry, stop saying this stuff because I get so much from you.
All right.
So much
okay, so Scott, I may have told this story before. I'm gonna tell it right now. So we're at Photoshop World,
Scott,
we're in Orlando.
Terry, let Scott compliment you.
No, let me finish this. I gotta get this in before 3 minutes is up. We're in Photoshop World before the first day. And we're at the elevator, and I'm getting ready to go hang out and have fun. And Scott's going up to his room. And I'm like, where are you going? What are you going up to your room for? And he said, I got to go practice. I'm thinking to myself, you need to practice? You do this stuff every day. What do you need to practice? I just need to make sure all the files are right, so on and so on. I'm like, go have fun. Go upstairs. I'm out of here. Next day, I get in my class. Font's missing. File can't open. This, that, and the other. And it was just like, I will never forget that lesson for as long as I live because I got burned by it the next day by not going to check my files, making sure everything works, so forth and so on. So another lifelong lesson you taught me.
Well, I'm glad if it helped in any way.
I'd like to say that all of you here know how big Terry's heart is, and he shows it every day. And I want to thank you for having that big heart, Terry.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Happy 25th anniversary, man. It's a testament to longevity, right? And so people, especially people in our organization, are watching it. And as you know, I like to curate all of the talent that comes and speaks for us. And one of the reasons that I love you coming is because you teach people just by being there that you can have success. You can have success, and you've been through the ups and the downs. You've seen it going through. And so that's important to us, especially when we talk about people in business, people going through photography, people understanding businesses, that I want to present them with people who are solid. And you absolutely represent the definition of solid in this industry, and especially being a man of color, you inspire so many. And I don't know how much you realize that, dude, but you are an inspiration to me. I thank you for the position that you held. I'm glad you stayed at Adobe, because if you did, brother, I might not be here right now today.
No, I might not be here right now. Things would have worked out quite differently had I gone ahead and taken that job. So I'm actually glad I didn't.
Yes. Thank you. Happy 25th anniversary, man.
Absolutely.
Just wishing you the best. And you're an amazing human. That's what I want everybody to know. You're not only an extremely well-known, famous guy around the world. You're an amazing human being, and always have been. Yeah.
Show us that shirt, Jason.
Oh yes. This is my children's music song.
Put your pants on.
I'm still promo on Terry's 25th. Thank you, Aundre. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And that's also for live streamers. Put your pants on. So
it's a social comment on the Zoom world postcode.
I know we're gonna hit the hour, so
right,
I'll leave with this, Terry. Go.
I'm gonna just before I give you the last word, I'm gonna give Scott. Since I cut you off, is there anything I didn't mean to cut you off, but is there anything else you wanted to say since you're on vacation and you popped in? Any last words for us?
Yeah, make sure you try the Crab Shack on Main Street. It's really, really good. If you happen to be here in Maine right now in Kennebunkport, the Crab Shack is really, it's lobster rolls there are fantastic. No, Terry, congratulations on 25 years. It has been it has been great to see this whole progression of your career, and we are all very proud of you, and we all love you. And you are, and as Jason said, you're a great trainer, you're a great instructor, but you're a great person. The world needs more Terry Whites. So congratulations on your 25 years. Well deserved and well earned.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
All right, Aundre, back to you.
Bye-bye.
I would say that sponsored content from Scott just snuck in there. He was like, "Do y'all like crab?" Okay. Terry, there in this song "Mama" by Kendrick Lamar, there's a line that says, "If I'm generous at heart, I don't need recognition. The way I'm rewarded, well, that's God's decision." And I just want you to understand that there's only 5, 6, 7 of us that popped in today. But there are not only the people in the chat, but there are thousands of people over 25 years that have either learned directly from you or the result of your learning. I told you the very first time I went on one of your streams, my roommate's dad texted me and was like, "Oh my God, I saw you on Terry White's stream." And I was like, and really like that joke aside,
his roommate's dad. That makes me you super
no. So, but no, the thing I want you to understand is like the legacy is more than, because what'll happen is you'll turn 22, you'll make one piece of art, you'll be like, "Oh, like I am the coolest thing that's ever happened," not recognizing that not only is no idea fully original, but the mechanisms that got you to that point, the result of the kindness and the presence of others before you. And I want you to know there are so many art teachers, students, visual artists, designers that whether they've learned from you directly or through Jason, Scott, Shawn, Cheetah, Rufus, all those people carry a part of you going forward. So that 25 years is 25,000 plus people that are just better off because of you. And if you had chosen to be somewhere else, like Shawn said, many of us wouldn't be present in that space. So although this is, I think, at a cheap substitute, I'd love to give you some flowers or a trophy or something. This is the best we can do in 12 hours notice, and we love you very much.
This is amazing. Thank you, Aundre, for encouraging me to put this together, and thank you for hosting. And thanks, everyone. I know, like, just last minute, you guys all popped in. I appreciate you. Love you to death, and I can't imagine, like I said, this 25 years without each and every one of you.
Thank you.
That also goes for the people in the chat. So if you weren't here, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing because I wouldn't have any people watching. So thank you.
All right.
All right. Cheers, everyone.
Take
We're
care.
3 minutes over, but it was great. And I want to thank everyone for being here. And I'm going to end the stream now. So thank you. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Aundre.
Bye.
Thanks, Sheila.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason, Scott, and Shawn Lee. Detroit.
Detroit.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.